Hello everyone, welcome to another segment of Abalandeli Belanga. It's your host here, Umlandeli Belanga, coming to you today on a Friday or freer day afternoon. The day of Venus, coming to you in the hour of Venus, Ukwezi Logusa. So I'm still here trying to teach you how to follow the sun, trying to teach you how to be faithful followers of the sun, or trying to show you the keys and the clues so that you may be able to use this knowledge of the angles of the celestial orbs. So I'm supposed to be doing the lesson, the sermon CaNCeR today, of which it's quite late, I must say, because we've already entered the season of Ukhozi, Olumaphiko Amhlophe, the season of the Lion of Judah, the season of Heru, the season of Samson, is Kondla Samson. That is the season that we are in, Mara. I still need to finish up on CaNCeR, then slowly get into the hero, Uheru, Ukhozu, Olumaphiko Amhlophe. When I planned this lesson, it was supposed to be in Jan, just after Christmas, and so I'd wanted to introduce to you the asterisms that actually gave us the allegory of Christmas, so the allegory of the Savior archetype that is born on the 25th of December, the Savior archetype that is born with the sun, the 25th of December, of course, if you're in the north, and the 25th of March, if you're in the southern hemisphere. Yes, that is when our sun is born. If you're Christian, and you love the Jesus story, all you have to do if you're in the southern hemisphere is flip it over, and all the holidays that are kept in that Bible will then align with the seasons of the south. But you'd have to read accurately, of course, and interpret accurately, and not as the Goyim interpret. And so, like I said, the Savior is reborn on the 25th or the 25th of December in this case. I will stick to that one. So on the 25th of December, Mary, or if you're using other mythologies, uNomkhubulwane, or Inanna, or Esther, or Ishtar, or whatever fertility deity, whatever deity that has to do with harvest. The asterism for that deity is placed with the stars that appear in the evening and in the morning during harvest. That is where you place them, or where the sun is reborn as well, in this case with the birth of a Heru, or Jesus. And so now on the 25th, Mary brings forth her firstborn, and then she lays him in a manger, because now there is no room for them in a stay. To get into that, of course, remember, these are allegories. These are allegories. Till this day, they cannot agree on exactly where Bethlehem was. I don't want to get into that. I'm here for the allegory. And so there is no room in the stay of the manger. Again, to get the true meaning, you need to go into the astrology of it. Because if you look at the asterism of the constellation Virgo, in one hand she would have a species of corn, is quebo, and then in the other hand she would have a reed, the same type of reed which is held by our sisters in September, in late August, when we prepare to cross over into spring. Or she will have the scales in her hand. It's always like that. Her hands are full, and so the baby descends into the manger of Jau. Now this title is well known in the north. It's well known, of which this is the uncomfortability with some of these allegories that we are trying to get into, because they are based for the north. And so there is, and yes, they are based on the north, but in this case, the stars that the North used to create the creation allegories or the birth of the Savior archetype allegories, we can also see them. And so, but of course, our mythologies would be enacted differently according to the dictates of our cultures and the laws of the culture. And so the baby drops into what is called the manger of Jau. The manger of Jau. And so, okay, where am I? And so, yeah, the baby drops into the. I'll get into why the Jau and where it is exactly. And so now, on the 24th and the 25th, Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day, if you're outside at night in the evening, between 12:30 to 1:30, depending whether in the north or the south, you will be able to see the head of the Virgin rising above the horizon. That's in the east in the evening or early hours of the morning, to a point where one of the brightest stars, Vindia Matrix or something like that, on her elbow, peers over the horizon. Now remember, in the allegory it says the sheep keepers, they saw a star which came and told them that a child would be born. Yes, that is that star, that bright star that appears from the east. That is that star that the sheep, the shepherds, that's the star that they see. That is that same star which makes the wise man or the magi, that's which makes them say, we have seen his star in the east. That is the star the magi follow to the manger of Jau. We'll get to where the manger of Jau is. And so now at the upper meridian, so you have the horizon, and just above the horizon, you have the constellation CaNCeR, the constellation of the crab, inkalankala, GuDLa, mFuLa, maZiBuKo. You would have that constellation there. And then in that constellation, this is where you will find now the manger of Jau. The manger where now, because there is no room of the stay, the baby is what? Is birthed in the manger of Jau. The manger of Jau is the stable of Bethlehem of the Bible, in which Christ is born, or Emmanuel, when on the 25th, 9 months after the angel Gabriel, aka Mercury, comes to the Virgin Mary. The Roman Catholic Church has all these holidays in place. And so the manger of Jau is not only the birthplace of Jesus or the manger of Jupiter. That is actually who Jau is. It's also the birthplace of the sun god Mithra. He was also said to be born on the same day the sun is reborn. In Egypt, or Kemet, if you want to call it that, Heru, reborn when the sun is what? Reborn. If we had an allegory like that about mFuLa, when do you think he'll be reborn? 25th December? No, it would be the 25th of June, because we are the opposite. If ever you wanted to give dates to mFuLa, just follow the sun, and you'll be able to place all those deities where they belong. And so now, as this is happening, a few hours later, the break of dawn, the constellation. So now we've covered Virgo, we've covered CaNCeR. Oh, by the way, while I'm there, I might as well mention that now we're going to build up the animals in the stable, or in the in the stable. So in CaNCeR, now we're going into, okay, let me first say, the background constellation at the crack of dawn is the goat, an animal of the stable again. That is the background constellation when the sun is reborn in the manger of Jau. Another animal that belongs in the stable are the two asses in the constellation CaNCeR, Aselius Borealis and Aselius Australis. Yes, those are the two donkeys. Bam! Animals belonging where? belonging in a stable, the celestial stable. Not the ones they're telling you about somewhere in the Middle East where they can't even agree whether there was or there was never have been a town called Bethlehem. Yes, guys, these are allegories. These are allegories, and as abalandeli belanga, we are here for the story behind the story. We have gone out of the pangs, or we've come out of the stupidity, if I were to use that word, of literal interpretation. We are adults now. We are that brand of adults which reads the drama as a drama, which has no context outside the pages it is written on. Dramas are meant to be studied, not to be used as a blueprint to play out your life. Okay? Get it? Got it? Good. Okay, where am I? And so yes, the background constellation when the sun rises is the goat, as the sun is reborn from the manger of Jau, of whom Jau, by the way, is actually Jupiter. And Jau is also Joseph, Mary's husband. Ubaba lokuthiwa ubambiswe ibhantshi. But now, as adults, we need to understand, what does the story mean? And so, you know, everyone keeps telling us that there was no letter J, it was only in the Hebrew language, it was only invented in the 1600s, yada, yada, yada. They always leave it there. They can't take it further. Now, the name, how we write Joseph, how it would have been written in the back day, Greek, Hebrew, how they would have written it, oh wow, yes, that looks better. How they would have written it, yeah, would have been, because remember, that can be a AO, like that, IO. Sometimes they will put an A there, Iowa, Jehovah, Jehovah, those are all the combinations. So they would have written it like that. IOS, it's still Joseph. It's still Joseph. Joseph Jah, or they would write it like this, or how the Rastafarians say it, Jah, Jaman, or Yah. Yes, that J can also be a Yah as well as a Y as well. Mary's husband, yes, Joseph. And he always pops up. Remember in the story of when Jesus dies, it's Joseph's tomb. That also means something. But I will not get into it because, so yes, Jah is also Jupiter. Or Jupiter, as in Ju, and then Peter, as in the Apostle Peter. Yes, which translates, Peter, of course, translating to a rock, a Petra. To take it further, we can say Petra, Peter, Father, Pata, Pata. That's the root, where the root for that God, the deity from Kemet, Pata, the All-Father. That's where they get it from. Now, those are the asterisms in the East. What are they? We said it's the Virgin, whose hands or whose stays are full. It's the Virgin. We have CaNCeR. In CaNCeR, we've got the donkeys. And then when the sun rises, we have the goat. Now we are going to talk about the animals and the asterisms from the west now. If between 12:30 to 1:30, if you look west, as Mary is rising, Mary or Virgo, the Virgin, is rising in the east, if you see what is happening in the west, those stars will be setting, and we're going to go into who those stars are. And so now on the western horizon, we have the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world. The lamp is setting. And then immediately behind the lamb, we have the bull Taurus. The lamb, of course, is called Aries. Then we have the bull Taurus. And then immediately above Taurus, we will see the epiphany or the manifestation to the Gentiles, which is none other than Umzingeli or Anansi, Orion the giant. That's on the west. Again, the animals in the state. The Aryan lamb, Mary had a little lamb. The lamb, the cow. On that side, on the western horizon. You'll find it there. And of course, Orion the hunter, Umzingeli. And then now in Umzingeli or Orion's belt, the 3 stars of Orion's belt constitute the 3 stars which are allegorically said to be the 3 magi. So now at that time on the west, the 3 magi are setting. Vindhya Matrix on the east is rising on Virgo, and they proclaim, "We have seen the star in the east. We have seen his glory, and we have come bearing gifts." That is where it comes from. Those magician kings are the 3 stars on Orion's belt. Looking directly across the horizon, see his star in the east and proclaim, "We have seen his star. We have come to worship." And again, it is the star that the shepherds see. And of course now, this is why in the depictions of the nativity, you will always find the lamb, Aries. You will always find a cow, that's Taurus. You will always see a donkey, that's the crab CaNCeR. We will also find, of course, the manger of Bao, or the manger of Jiao, or the stable of Jiao. And then in the east, there's Mary or Virgo peeking over the horizon, and Joseph, whom we have identified as Jupiter, the planet which exalts in CaNCeR. That is why that guy is there. That is why that guy is there. And of course we said Cancerian energy begins when? 21st December. That is the allegory. I think I've covered all the players. I sincerely hope that it is becoming crystal clear to us, beyond a further of doubt, that we cannot run away from this. The stars are the oldest. They are probably the oldest and maybe the purest form of passing down beliefs, traditions, creation accounts, and symbols of reckoning through the ages. Astrology is the bedrock of it. The stargazing and allocating dramas to those celestial orbs is the bedrock to all our mythologies. Astrology. Astro meaning star, inkanyezi. And logy, of course, is the study of God in the stars. That's how I've coined it. Astrology, the study of God in the stars, the dramas of the gods in the stars, the logos of the stars. The stars are the blueprint to all our mythologies, and we cannot run from this. And of course, astrotheology, being a child of the main, or being a subgroup of astrology, astrotheology is the misunderstood script behind all Bible drama and theology. If you want to understand Bible theology, study astrology. Study astrology. That's where you'll see that, actually, It is not literal. We are dying, we are fighting, siyaloyana. We're doing a whole lot, man. A whole lot over umzekelo, an idea. An idea. And we cannot run from this. Astrotheology is the study of the stars, watered down for the carnal mind. Once you let go of carnality and you look at the drama for what it is in the night sky, there is no undoing that. Once you can see that, oh, actually, yeah, these are the asterisms that give you this tale. There's no going back from that. And all cultures have a way of reckoning the year through the use of celestial orbs. There's nothing pagan or demonic about it. The only thing pagan is our ignorance of these symbols. And among these symbols, or another of these symbols we have is the solstice. We've just covered now the point when the sun is born. 25th December, the sun is born in the north. For us in the south, the sun is in its solstice. Is solstice, of course, referring to the movement of the sun as observed through the year, the sine wave. And of course, the solstices, the summer solstice and the winter solstice, marking the extreme limits of the suns, are ecliptic. These points are places where the sun cannot go further than that point. December 25 for the north, the sun can't go any lower than that point. The 25th, the 21st of December for the southern hemisphere, the sun cannot get any higher than that point. He comes down. The second return. Oh yeah, he comes down from that elevated position. And he starts coming down, slowly but surely. The summer solstice now is when the sun, like I've just said, reaches its farthest limit north. And the winter solstice, or the extreme southern limit. The extreme southern limit and the extreme northern limit. And now when the sun enters either of these celestial points, for about 2.5 days, the sun seems to stand still. 2.5 days. And that is why yes, it stands still for about 2.5 days. In the Bible allegory, they'll run it off to 3 days. It stands still, and for that reason, these points, actually the name celestial comes from that aspect that the astrologers through the eons have observed that on that date, the sun is neither rising and it's neither falling. And so for that reason, they call those points solstitial points, from the Latin word sol, which means sun, and sistere stiti, meaning to cause to stand. This is where now that allegory from the Bible applies. The sun in its highest position. Every eye shall see him. That's the summer solstice. The highest point, his rays falling vertically, boom, they're coming down like that, quickening the late harvest that we are now approaching in Dasa. The marula drink is already, it's ready. The marula fruit is ready. Our wine ceremony is coming. We are approaching the Lord's Supper in March. And so in this position, the sun is quite literally the Most High. You know, the Bible talks about the Most, in that position in the summer solstice, the sun, there is no other Most High in this plane than the sun during that time. the Bible now, this is allegorized as Jesus riding into Jerusalem on 2 donkeys. The CaNCerian donkeys, Australis Borealis and Australis Australis. Yes, the 2 asses, ridden by Jesus as he rides into Jerusalem. Jerusalem, of course, being another representation of a pinnacle, or the highest point, or the mountain, or the top of the pyramid. To make it more personal into our daily aspects of our lives, we can call it its graduation day. The day the son of the carpenter rides into Jerusalem is a master. Studenthood is over. Intwaso iphelile. That is when you are what? Uyagqotshwa. That is that high position. Where now the king, if we used to use the languages of the kings, the king must now marry his land in that midsummer with the sun in his prime. He must wed his moon. CaNCeR is ruled by the moon. And so CaNCeR, this is where we place now the king marrying his land or marrying his people. And now in this peak of the summer solstice, with our people now, this is where now our kings, or the kings that still keep this ritual, the kings that still keep izindlela zaselangeni, izindlela zabomalangeni. In the summer solstice, as the sun is in its highest position, the king returns from his annual isolation among the Swati people. Abomalangeni, they still keep to the science. The king returns during the summer solstice. The king, umalangeni, uDlamini, uJamini, uGemini, returns in glory, full of splendor. There is, Eswatini, there is no GuDLa, or the early harvest, without the king. If umalangeni, if the sun, let me just slow this down to you so that you understand the symbolism here. There is no GuDLa without umalangeni. If now the sun were to not return from that high position at the summer solstice, the heat would become so intolerable, and both vegetation and animal life would become extinct. Singaphela. All life will become impossible. We would lose GuDLa. Hence, there is no GuDLa without the king. The polar caps would melt. The snow and the ice would create another deluge, probably. And again, on the other side, if the sun were to not turn back at the winter solstice, if he were to just do a few more degrees going down, an eternal winter would reign in all lands north of the equator, and a perpetual glacial era would extinguish all life and vegetation. Singaphela. And ngempela, truly, sibili. In him, umalangeni, we live, move, and have our being. And so every summer solstice, we welcome the return of our king. The return of our king who arrives in spring as the meek lamb Aries, who approaches from the east, ushering us into spring. As this is happening, a seclusion ritual is observed by the Swati king. As the Aryan lamb is rising, as he whose hair is white as snow, white as pure wool, that's the lamb. As the lamb is rising in the east, Inkosi yethu eMaswatini, he goes into seclusion. In the days leading up to the cross quarter day or the Ascension Day, you can check out my other videos as to what the cross quarter day and what Ascension Day is. The king goes into seclusion. The evening appearance of the Tauran bull in late October, together with Umzingeli. This is in the east now, together with the Umzingeli Orion and his hunting dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor, and the stars of Sirius. When these appear, these signal a seclusion time for the king. As Jesus did in the allegory, when they said he disappeared. And as the master masons, Castor and Pollux, the stars of Gemini, appear in our evenings in the east, as Castor and Pollux, Undlela, Novezi, as they appear late November, the king goes into seclusion. In Bible mythology, the summer solstice, okay, maybe let me let that sink in a bit. Abo Malangeni, they are still following the science. And baningi abo Malangeni, who are still keeping the science as a Malangeni. There is no GuDLa without the king. And this now is the higher realization behind that simple, or what appears to be a simple ceremony. In Bible mythology now, the summer solstice is expressed as the peak of the mountain, the peak of the pyramid, the peak of the mountaintop. Ararat, the story of the flood. Nebo, the story of Moses. That's the summit of the mountain. In the case of Moses, at the summit of Nebo, he was given the eyes of an eagle. Ukhozi olumaphiko amhlophe. The symbol for the high summer, or the symbol for the sun's position in summer in chemetology is Heru, the eagle, because it flies higher than all the other creatures all the other avian creatures. That's where it's from. And now in the Bible allegory now, this takes us to the story of the mountain of temptation, where now umalangeni uJesu is tempted by the devil. The verse reads, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil." Now, as the sun waxes from strength to strength in the months from spring, September in our case, March, from March if you're in the north, as the sun grows out of the winter solstice, March is here, or September, winter solstice, as the sun is growing from strength to strength, through the spring equinox, moving on, growing from strength to strength, through the months of spring and summer. It is said the powers of darkness are said to go before him, because as he is rising, one day at a time, 1 degree at a time, slowly but surely, daylight overcomes darkness, to a place where we get to the equinox, where it is equal day and then equal night. And so, through the months of spring and summer, it is said the powers of darkness are said to go before him, and Jesus follows. Through the signs Aries, Taurus, Gemini, and finally CaNCeR, the peak position. The top of the mountain, if you will, Jerusalem, the city of peace. The Bible says there is no need for Ilang. It's the place of eternal day. Why? Because the sun is in its highest, strongest position. The sun in its highest position of ascension, the Tropic of CaNCeR. The 21st of December for us, and sorry, the 21st of December for the north. The 21st of December for us, sorry, and the 21st of June for the north. It is now in that position. Remember, from the winter solstice, the nights are longer than the days, and he grows slowly but surely. He reaches a place where he is equal to the devil, where sunlight and darkness, they are equal, and then he continues to grow. He continues growing. And then it is said now, the powers of darkness are said to go before him. That is why the verse says, Jesus was led by the devil into the mountain. Get it? Now, it is in that position now, at the summer solstice. Jesus says, after leading him to the top of the mountain, Satan says to Jesus, all these things I will give thee, if thou wilt fall down and worship me. I remember as a Christian, when we went through this story, we were quickly told, yes, devil, get thee behind me. Man shall not live by bread alone. I spent most of my young adult life trying to understand, what does this mean? The summer solstice is the peak, yeah? English, manje. The summer solstice is the sun in its highest position. There is food everywhere. It lines up with our early harvest, or our first harvest, the first fruits. There's food everywhere. And then this verse says, actually, let me not do that. Let me just get into the meaning. And so the devil says, all these things I will give thee if thou wilt fall down and worship me. Of which I understand in the allegory, Jesus says, get thee behind me, Satan. Of which at that point it becomes true astronomically or astrologically so. Because even though we are taught Jesus defeats the devil in that position, Jesus does comply. He does agree. Astronomically so. We're not talking literalism. We are not talking literalism. Astronomically so, Jesus complies, and allegorically so, he complies. How? Because from the 21st of December, the sun begins to fall down. That is the height of summer. The 21st of December, not the height of the heat. The height of the heat season, that is the season we're in now. In January, the season of the lion, the fiery lion. After that position, he starts coming down to his hottest position until he goes down now. I mean, we're in Feb now, heading into March, when he is judged and he goes underground for autumn and winter. That is why I say astrologically and allegorically, Jesus agrees, and he falls down, and then from that point on, he is the light is in front and darkness is behind him, until he falls now in the scales of Libra, the 21st of March, when we go into autumn. Now, where am I? Yeah, see now, let me read this. See, from the 21st of December, the sun begins to fall down, coming down from his height of ascension. Immediately after the summer solstice. This happens immediately after the summer solstice. Satan then becomes the follower. Get thee behind me, Satan. Welemva. Ndoda. Get thee behind me, Satan, is the astronomical rebuke that ushers the fall or the crabbing backwards into autumn. The regularity of the season is gravely dependent upon the integrity rather of the sun's ecliptic. In him we live, move, and have our being. Be comfortable with that fact. Be comfortable with that fact. In the iconographies of Kemet, to show you now where another point that that highlights that we're actually looking at the same thing. In the iconography of Kemet, there's an image where we see a body. Yes. We see a body. And here where the head is supposed to be, we are shown two heads. I'm sure you guys have seen something like this. And then on the one side, it's set, and then on the other side, it's the head of an eagle. Get thee behind me, Satan. Or Jesus, the eagle. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up as with wings as eagles. Yeah? As adults, we need to understand what that means. Jesus, Satane, Hashatan, Isita. These two principles share a body. The head of Set looks backwards, and the head of Heru looks forward. In Greek culture, this image is given to the deity Janus. Oh yes, so yeah. This image is given to the deity Janus, of which this is the root, like that, Janu, the root for January. Yes, that's the root for January. So not to dwell there. And so now to get into CaNCeR, to get into the Nkala, to get into GuDLa, or the scarab beetle, as the chematologists have put it. So now CaNCeR has not always been depicted as a crab, but the symbol of the hard shell is quite consistent. During our earlier years, some astrologers would depict CaNCeR as a crayfish. And of course, like I said, the Egyptians saw it as a scarab beetle. The constellation is probably the most important out of the zodiac because it contains more fixed stars within the arc of its influence than any other of these signs. I'm sure that is why it plays such a crucial role in all these mythologies. And now among the other names of this so-called constellation is the seat of Satan, because the seat of Satan, or the seat of Draco, because the head of the, not Draco, the head of the constellation, the head of the serpent constellation rather, the head of the serpent constellation Hydra rises with the crab. And of course you would see this 21 December into Jan, you would see this. The Hydra rises with the crab. And so now, as I highlighted, just 1 second, what's going on with my notes here? Yes, we are in CaNCeR. Why was I talking about declination? Why? Okay, let me just get into it. I can't see why. Okay, yeah, I've just highlighted that in CaNCeR, around CaNCeR, we also have what is called, one of the names of CaNCeR is the seat of Satan, because the constellation Hydra rises with the crab. And so, okay, it doesn't flow, so it's fine. I'll try and so yeah, we'll hold the thought about, but yes, that's one of the names for the crab, for CaNCeR, the seat of Satan, because the Hydra rises with it. I think I've mentioned this already, that CaNCeR is ruled by the moon. And oh yes, okay, this is where I'm going, to bring in the animals again of the stable. The moon actually exalts in Taurus, the cow, and declinates in Scorpio, the pubic area. Can't remember what I was supposed to be saying there, but anyway. So yeah, to get into the snake now, or the seat of Satan. We're going to get into now the archetypes of Satan symbolized as a snake. So now, just as much as there are three persons in the Godhead, there's also three persons in the devil head, if I can put it like that. And of course, these three persons or archetypes in the devil head are based on the asterisms found where? In our night sky. And so the first one is the Hydra that I've just mentioned, which extends over the signs Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And then the second, we've got the dragon Draco, that old serpent that persecutes the Virgin Mary, or Virgo. And last but not least, we have the whale Cetus, you know, the whale that swallowed Jonah. That is the third archetype of the devil. Cetus, the whale that persecutes the lamb, which now, if you actually look at it, the Aryan lamb is actually standing on the head of Cetus, standing triumphantly on the head of Cetus, on the head of the sea monster. Genesis 3 says, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his and thou shalt bruise his heel. I think that's the last, yeah, and you shall bruise his heel. Yes, that's how it reads. Ooh, my notes are jumbled up, but anyway, yes, that's how it reads. So we have the Lamb constellation standing on top of the Cetus sea monster, or standing on Golgotha, the place of the skull. The lamb in the asterism, it's literally standing on top of Cetus, the sea monster. Now those three asterisms, those three constellations are the physical phenomena behind the character of Satan. Three symbols behind one idea, figuratively. Three symbols behind one idea. Let me reread that actually. When you write something, then you can't read it. So we have now three symbols behind one idea, figuratively. The path of the sun on the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, as well as the circles of the sidereal or the tropical year, are also referred to as serpents. It was just a side note. And of course, oh yes, I was trying to highlight the other serpents that we have. So I've highlighted three. The other serpent, something else that the ancients referred to as serpents in these allegories are the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, and the circles of the sidereal or the tropical year. They're also called serpents. The Milky Way, the arch of the Milky Way, as well. In some cultures, it's also called the serpent, or the diaphragm, if you will. The deeper aspects of solar biology. Another hero who is said to have crushed his enemy with his foot is Hercules. Hercules, the hero, or Samson in the Bible. Hercules is said to have battled the nine-headed Hydra. Yes, in that mythology, that snake has 9 heads. In his second labor, remember Samson, Hercules, he has I think it's seven or 12, the 12 labors of Samson. In his second labor, he crushes a what did I say? He crushes. Oh yes, he crushed an enemy under his foot. So what happens is Hera sends a crab, Karkinos. Hera sends a crab to bite the foot of Hercules. And guys, you can actually look at these asterisms and see these images. You'll see what I'm talking about. Hera sends a crab to bite his foot, but Hercules crushes the crab with his foot. Then Hera, as a tribute for service, places the crab in the sky. Yes, as a shame, man, but yeah, we'll deify you. The motherfucker Hercules crushed you, but yeah, we'll deify you and place you in the sky. That is what the allegory says. Now, to get into the word crab a bit. The word crab comes from the from where I'm taking it, it comes from the Indo-European root, which means to scratch or to cut out a groove. That is why I've called the season of crab energy umakweba in CaNCeR, GuDLa, because that's what they do. They cut out grooves, they carve. Now that root looks something like this. G R B H. That's how that root looks. All right. Umakweba, yes, which gave us where am I? Which gives us the cognate of the Greek word graphene, which they write like that. I'm sure I've left out some vowels, but yeah, they write it like that. Graphene, which means to write or to scratch with a stylus. Now, yes, scratching with a stylus on clay tablets, umakweba. Now, ngesiZulu, this is how we write the word. Then we use one of these, I can't remember what they're called, but it's a solid stroke like that. And then you would do the W. And that is how he would write it in Zulu. Now, linguistically, which side must I start? Which side can I start? Now, linguistically, because I said this is the root from where we get the word carve. In the German languages, they pronounce it as a kab. Abokave, to carve. That G, they pronounce it as a k or a k. Kwe. For us, linguistically, that's the same thing. It's the sound of how we say it that changes. And of course, the B, we can drop these. And we know that linguistically, a B can become a V. And that is why this word, the roots, even though they write it like kav, but when they pronounce it, it's kav. That's how they pronounce it. And so what now this word grows to now in the northern languages is that. And that is the word for crab. I think that's how the Germans write it. Crab. That's how the Germans write it. There is only one language, guys. There is only one language. If you understand the 12 positions in a year, you will get to understand that the alphabet is actually based on those 12 positions. And so it is for that reason. Oh yes, a few roots, a few root words that are also based here. Okay, we have with crab, crayfish. We also have a or krebiz, or we also have in German it's krabiz. It's a cuisine of sorts. In Old Norse, we get the word krafla, which means to crawl. And then again, from this root that I just showed you, we also have tied to it the word glamour is one of the derivatives from that root, the word glamour, which is quite fitting actually, because it is actually describing glamour is a character or a quality, if I were to say, of the sun in its highest position. It's a quality of the sun in its highest position during the summer solstice. And again, according to, I was quoting it's the American, it's called, it's the American Indo-European root something. I've missed But anyway, again now in the Indo-European roots, the American Indo-European roots, 2nd edition. They say that the word CaNCeR comes from the reduplicated form. I'm not sure why I did this, but yeah, I'll go along. It comes from the reduplicated form of CaR, crow. That's how they say it. And then they say that now, I put this together a while back. So where was I going with this? Oh yes, now, car means hard. This is the root for hardness, yes. Remember I said that the exoskeleton that play on words, whether they use a crab or a shellfish, but the words always highlight the hardness, of the shell. So now some of the words we have from this, from CaNCeR, we also have canker, comes from there as well. And among the 12 sons of Jacob, we can again say CaNCeR belongs to the tribe Issachar, because in Genesis 49, when Jacob is blessing his sons, he says, Issachar is a raw-boned donkey. Now in Strong's Lexicon, H1634, informs us that the word raw-boned comes from garam, gar, meaning bone. Gar, hard, garam is bone, or a skeletal body, as you would have on a crab, or the exoskeleton shell of a crab. Yes, that's where I was actually going with this. Another clue that can tie the raw-boned crab, or Rabboni, Mr. Rawbones, to Issachar is found in Deuteronomy 33:19, where it reads, they will feast on the abundance of the seas. The treasures hidden in the sand. That's what crabs do. I'm sure you've seen crabs appearing from the sand. So, yes. What else can I add there? I'm tired now. This is an hour. Yeah, crabs live they live in dugout sand hollows. NgesiZulu, we are talking about GuDLa, umakweba, like I've just highlighted. Abo kave, abo cavemen, abo maZiBuKo. Wena owangena nesikhuni emanzini waphuma naso sivutha. That's who we're talking about. And in the Christian religion, in the New Testament, the 7 churches, among the 7 churches, CaNCeR is the church Pergamos, meaning a marriage of a fire. Fire. Pergamos, a marriage of fire. And so ngesintu we have the saying, maZiBuKo bathi, wena owangena nesikhuni emanzini waphuma naso sivutha. I'm going to show you leso sikhuni leso. And then the Bible says Pergamos, or the translation of Pergamos means a marriage of fire. Grab the symbols now. Wena owangena nesikhuni emanzini. CaNCeR is a water element, by the way. Wangena emanzini waphuma naso sivutha. Isikhuni and fire. Pergamos means a marriage of fire. Now, in the alphabet now, I can't start in the alphabet. I'll start with the asterism for the constellation CaNCeR. It actually looks like this. Or, in the Hebrew, it's that hook that they normally, the thing that they normally draw, or they will put like that on a word. Some call it the living flame, the Vav, of which, of course, that's CaNCeR. Yes, that's the symbol for CaNCeR. In Old Phoenician, again, that's the symbol for valve, of which they also call the nail, or a peg, of which I would like to consider it as isikhuni. In Hebrew, they write it like that, and they call it a flame. And this is where I've placed now maZiBuKo, GuDLa, inkalankala, umakweba. That's the CaNCERian symbol. The letter is Vav in the Hebrew language. In Greek, it's either Vau or Digama, which is of which it disappears from the Greek alphabet after Homer's time. Yeah. And so I hope it's becoming clear. Isikhuni. maZiBuKo. Wena owangena emanzini wena owangena nesikhuni emanzini waphuma naso sivutha. That's where I've tied that to. What else do I still have here? Let me see. So now, Pergamos, they said it means a marriage of fire. And now within the marriage of fire, we find Balaam's talking ass. The asses, Asilius Borealis, and Asilius Australis. The 2 asses Jesus rides into Jerusalem. I've touched on this before. Now, again, Jerusalem represents, I'm going into now the aspect of The Africans, is it the Africans? Abo Shembe, the church Abo Shembe. It's the Christian Zion Church, ne? I'm going to get into the ritual they do in January now. So now Jerusalem, like I'm trying to say, represents the elevated position. Summer solstice, Jerusalem, the place of the Most High. This now is the sun's position in CaNCeR. And of course, we've just said the word Pergamos or Pergamum or Pergamorso or Perogamum translates to strongly knit, united. Strongly united. Now, if you look among our cultures, a very good example of being strongly united, being strongly knit together, is found in the festivities around GuDLa, Nomkhosi wokweshwama, where Zulu warriors, Zulu men gather in numbers in their war regalia. That masculine energy is just everywhere. Even women display it. You know, it's like, it's just, that aspect comes out because the Lord on high is in his highest position. We see bullfighting. If you're in KZN, I'm sure you've seen some of the videos. You see bullfighting. What else can I add there? Oh yes, the word perogamum translates to strongly united, closely knit, tough texture, which takes us back to the hardness, the gal, again, elevated height, a citadel. And so, an example now of this, of being hard. You know, when people say, I'm hard, yeah, an example of being elevated or displaying your warrior king, your kingly warriorhood. We see it during Umkhosi wokweshwama and the festivities around GuDLa. In their war regalia, bagide, you'll find stick fighting. Where do you think they're getting the energy? Where do you think it's coming from, guys? They raise the masculine energy to a fever pitch, displaying their masculinity. Man, they even maim a bull with their bare hands. Not even the Portuguese do that. They'll have like the matador will have like this cute little suit, you know, like, you know. In our culture, they maim the bull with their bare hands. The display of masculinity. And as this is stirring, or if you're to say umuntu ophehla, as it reaches its climax or its peak, Inkosi, the king, triumphantly returns to bless GuDLa and his people. A second coming of sorts, like I said. Every eye shall see him. Now, among the Shembe Zion Church, just after the sun now has moved a few degrees into January, they host an annual pilgrim up the holy mountain, Untlangakazi. If you wish, you can just, yes, up the holy mountain, Untlangakazi, takes place when Isilo Samabandla is in his highest position every year in early January. Mount Tlangakazi turns white as abozulu ondlela zimhlophe make their way up that mountain. Ngiqondile lenyukayo ngikhwela zonke izinsuku nginguye okhule. Y'all are not understanding what you are following. They do this every year without fail. that mountain turns white, young, old. You will find them there, ascending that mountain. Lord, plant my feet on higher ground. As the sun, as Umalangi stands as the Most High. That is what Abozulu Ondlela Zimhlophe do. They make their way up. There is a precise order in this world which looks like total idiocy to the deaf and blind. The gospel of the ecliptic is foolishness and illogical to those who perish, but unto us who are saved, it is the power of God. That's 1 Corinthians 1:18, I think. CaNCeR symbolizes tenacity to life. Now, in order for the crab to move forward, it's compelled to walk backwards. And this now is deified, the sun's apparent motion when in the sign CaNCeR, he appears to move backwards, of which he actually does. He crabs backwards because from that high position, he comes down, crabbing backwards, moving backwards towards the equator again, because you go equator, peak, back to the equator. That is why they say he crabs backwards. CaNCeR also represents the fruitful, sustaining essences of the life force, and of course, that's the highest position. That is the highest point of that life force. It also represents where am I? Where am I? Yeah, I think I'll leave that one there. I can't remember where I was going with it. Now, in Kemet, they've got this hieroglyph. They call it the stool. It's normally here on Isis. And it looks like that. The chair. Excuse me. The chair. It's normally here on her headrest. Now, the hieroglyph for CaNCeR is also called the seat or the throne of Isis, Usisi. And we see this a lot on her depictions, where the seat is on her headdress, like I was trying to say, which is quite fitting, fittingly so, because the appearing of the constellation CaNCeR in the east also brings with it the star Sirius, also known as Isis. And there's a lot that happens when this star appears. I know some people, they teach that the Magi standing from the east standing in the west looking east, the star that they are seeing is Sirius, but I say no, it cannot be. They are looking at the Virgin. The Virgin is what gives birth, not the star Sirius. Who's the Virgin? The Virgin is Virgo. But of course, Isis as well Isis is again also the star Sirius. And now moreover, CaNCeR symbolizes the tenacity to life. Forever young, I wanna be, yeah. The desire for immortality. And like I said before, it's a water sign and it's ruled by the moon. Water is always associated with passivity and the moon attachment. Now, the astrological shorthand for CaNCeR can be interpreted in a number of ways. The symbol is constructed of two separate parts. This is the one This is the one I'm going into now. The symbol for CaNCeR. Remember we said if you're looking at the stars, it will look like this, and then over that's where the crab will be built. Now, when we are looking at the classical symbols now, they do it like this. Okay. It's done like that. Yeah. And then that's how they do it. So now that is the astrological shorthand. It can be interpreted in two ways. It's two halves. The symbol is constructed from two separate parts that are identical, but polarized by their position. For some, the seesaw, that is why we get this crab symbolism. The seesaw symbol shows the up and down nature that is commonly held to be a trait of people born around this time of year. And now, because the constellation appears just after the summer solstice, when the sun is changing, when the seasons are changing. What was I trying to say here? Because the constellation appears just after the summer solstice, when the seasons are changing. Okay, forget that one. Let's forget it for now. Moving on. Yes, so now, like I was saying here, this symbol, it shows this seesaw character, a polarization. And now, this seesaw in the Bible is where am I? This seesaw in the Bible, or this change over from one season, or this change over from the sun climbing up to its highest position, and then the sun coming down from its highest position, is allegorized as Jesus flipping the tables. Jesus flipping the tables or turning the tables in the temple. Again, on that side, the two spirals could represent this shift. Some see it as two spermatozoa coming together to make one seed. And again, the conception of the concept of birth is also linked to this sign. It can also be looked at as a pair of breasts. Pair of breasts. Others see it as representing some of the fixed stars within the constellation itself, one pointing up and the other one pointing down, demonstrating demonstrating fully the concept as above, so below. I'm saying fully because in the Lord's Prayer, remember, okay, where was I? Oh yes, others see this asterism of this constellation, the one half with the one half, as representing the concept as above, so below, which actually makes sense because when you take it to the Lord's Prayer, remember we said you start at the head, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, throat chakra, and then when you get to the chest, CaNCeR now. Oh yeah, you start at the arms, Gemini. And then when you get to the CaNCeR, it's our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's where you are. So yes, as above, so below. The aspect in the stars It's where? It is at CaNCeR. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And now to get into the science a bit. This pinnacle represents the beginning of the polarity shift where, for example, if we were to use charges, where the positive charge changes or flips over to the negative. The state where, if I were to use the analogy of a ball, if you were to throw a ball into the air, it will travel until it's reached its peak of travel or its summer solstice. And then once it's reached that point, it will appear as if it stops and then begins the drop down again. Throw a ball up, the powers of darkness go before it. It reaches the peak of its travel. And Satan says, cast yourself down. And Jesus says, get thee behind me, darkness, or Satan. And then the trip down, back to the hand, starts all over again. Yes. Yeah, I think that is what I had for you. This has taken too long. But anyway, yeah, that's what I had. The cell salts and things like that, I will get into it in the next video. So, who did we learn about today? Today we learned about CaNCeR, the scarab. I think the chemists, the chematologists, they call it neptet or something like that. We're talking about GuDLa, maZiBuKo. Talking about the time when the kings return. We're talking about the time when the Christians are in church. They are the only ones who have got this right, by the way. No one else is doing it at that point in time. The yearly pilgrim up the holy mountain. Uhlanga. We're talking about raboni, raw bones. That hard, raw bone thingy. We're talking about the carvers, ukave, to carve, umakweba. Yes, that is who I've been talking about. That's who I wanted to bring to you today. I'm always open for questions, and yes, please do like and subscribe to the page. And yes, GuDLa. Thank you for listening.